Okay, so I know at school you've been initiated into nominative and accusative cases in Latin, so you have been taught that nouns change according to whether they're the subject or the object of a sentence. Chiefly, their spelling changes, they acquire new endings. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to go over all the cases in Latin, because even though your textbook only introduces the other cases chapters down the line, so you might learn about them months from now, I think it's going to be easier on you to learn these cases now so that you can recognize them and find translating passages more easily. So, you already know about the nominative. So, the nominative is what happens to the noun when it is the chief performer of the verb in a sentence. So, it doesn't matter what the noun is doing, whether it's being, slapping, eating, sleeping, beating. If the noun is the main subject of a sentence grammatically, then nothing happens to it. It is our nominative case in Latin. So if we take puella, puella remains puella. So here we have the English example, the girls in the garden. In Latin, this is going to be puella est in horto. The word order is exactly the same as you can see. Puella is girl, horto is garden, so it's the same word order as in English. Then we've got our accusative. So I think I told you before that the accusative would be the equivalent if people spoke more correct English today. So if we take the word who, it is actually correct to say whom did you invite to the party as opposed to who did you invite to the party. But people have become lazier, so very few people use who. A lot of people think it's snobby, which I don't, but anyway. So we do a similar thing. We put an M on puella where our predecessors would have put an M on who, and I still do. But anyway, so I see the girl. The Latin would be puellam video. We've put an M on puella. Next we have the genitive. Now the genitive is a new case. The genitive is how we describe possession. Now in English, the way we describe possession is very easy. We just add an apostrophe S, so it's kind of cheating when you think about it. But they do a similar thing in German where they just didn't add an S, not even an apostrophe. In Latin, they don't do that, but they add an E to puella. So the ending of this stem puel is now I, puelai. And this means of the girl. So you are not looking for separate words for of and the to make of the girl. You're not looking for those extra words, because that one word in Latin, puelai, represents those three words in English. So, of the girl, the dress there is actually what this says. So, ibi means there. Okay. So, notice that the noun that possesses the object, so that would be here, puella, comes before the object, unlike in English. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. You're basically saying, when you say puella stola ibi est, you're saying of the girl, the dress there is. Okay, so we're going to go on to the next page now. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, that hasn't happened before. I've never seen those pages. Oh, let's go on a bit. I think we're on page 42. Alright, we're back. Sorry about that. Okay, the dative. This is used when the noun becomes the indirect object. So, let's say in English, you're giving a parcel to a friend. Now, you are the subject, you're the nominative. I give. You then have the parcel. The parcel is in the accusative. The parcel is the object. To a friend. Now your friend is the one in the dative. Dative is where the English word data comes from, things that have been given. So the dative is what happens to a noun in Latin when something is being given to it, or someone is being given to it. So in English we have an example, I give the dress to the girl. In Latin this would be puellai stolum do. So to the girl a dress I give. Again, the word order is different. Again, we've got our puella coming at the start of the sentence and not at the end. And finally, we have the ablative. So the ablative is used in a number of contexts, but chiefly with the ablative, you have to remember that a noun is in the ablative when someone or something is either in or on it, or when something is being done by it or being given from it. So here I have listed these examples. So if something or someone is either in or on the noun, if something or someone is with the noun, if something's being done by the noun, and if something or someone is received from the noun. So the word ablative comes from the Latin ablatus, and that is a perfect passive participle that means having been carried away. So these nouns will sometimes be preceded by prepositions, unlike our other cases where I've told you do not add extra words in your Latin. So English would be I receive a dress from the girl, which I've accidentally crossed out in my attempt here to write something. Latin is a puella stolam recipio. So from the girl, a dress I received. So what I've done here is I've made a little arrow and I've tried to write ACC, which is short for accusative. Stola has now become accusative. Puella is in the ablative. And then we have our main verb recipio here, because typically in Latin, the main verb comes at the end of the phrase. So, a puella stolam recipio, from the girl, a dress I received. So, most often, the preposition means by or from. And as I said, stolam is in the accusative, puella is spelled the same here as in the nominative, although it's in the ablative. Then in Roman times, its A would have been the last A. Well, it only has one A. The last A, which is the only A, would have been sounded longer when pronounced. So the nominative puella would be puella, whereas this one would be puella. So the rule of declension also applies, of course, to the plural of puella. So, nominative, puellae qui sunt, the girls are here. Qui is here, sunt is are. The accusative, puellas amo, I love the girls. The genitive, puellarum servi boni sunt, of the girls, the slaves, good are. Or, in proper English, the slaves of the girls are good. Dative, puellis donar do, to the girls, gifts I give, or I give gifts to the girls. Ablative, puellis annually sunt, the rings are on the girls. And finally, I've got here a table, which should make it much clearer. So, singular and plural. Nominative singular, puella. Accusative singular, puellam. Genitive singular, puellae. Dative singular, puellae. And ablative singular, puella. Plural, nominative, puellae. Plural, accusative, puellas. Plural, genitive, puellarum. Plural, dative, puellis. And plural, ablative, puellis. And yes, the dative and the ablative are the same in the plural, just as the genitive and the dative are the same in the singular. So now I'm going to give you some exercises that you can do where you have to fill in the blanks. So first you guess the case, and then you fill in the right ending for it.